Welcome to the Best Business Podcast, the podcast for established marketers, entrepreneurs, and CEOs. The ones who want to join me in my mission to create 200 new multi-millionaires who solve world problems with entrepreneurship. If that's you, then this podcast was created to give you access to the tools, training, strategies, and tactics you need to achieve multiple seven-figure profits as soon as possible. This world needs the best business you can build, so please get ready, open your mind, believe you can do this, and let's build a better world together for future generations. Hello everyone, thank you for joining us. My name is Daryl Urbanski, your host as always, and today we are joined by Wes Schaeffer. Wes is a sales whisperer, a ruthlessly pragmatic entrepreneur, sales trainer, copywriter, and speaker who believes marketing is just selling in print. He is the author of It Takes More Than a Big Smile, a Good Idea, and a Twitter account to build a business that lasts, as well as The Definitive Guide to Infusionsoft. You can pick his brain as long as you're providing a fine cigar and a smooth scotch, or by listening to the Market Like a Man podcast, which he has hosted since 2013. After being in the game about as long as I have and interviewing countless experts, I thought I'd ask Wes to come on our show today and share with us some of his wisdom. Thank you for joining us, Wes. I really appreciate your time. How you doing, my friend?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. Yeah, it's good. We're just having some laughs before the show. So those of you that don't know, Wes has like a really large family. He was like, when I was younger, I always had a vision of having like a baseball team as a family. And he's actually got it with 7 kids in that. So we're just making sure everyone's happy.
Well, that's if the wife and I play. So, I mean, you're exaggerating, okay? So, I mean, it's not a complete baseball team because I'm a manager. I'm not a player coach, all right? Okay. You know how old I am, man? I got to be sitting back kind of looking at things. So I don't have a baseball team.
Got it. Well, you got pretty close. 7's at least, isn't that at least soccer? You got hockey down.
I got something. I don't know. And they say, I only have one problem, but it's really hard to pronounce. So, I got that going for me.
That's awesome. So, Wes, so how did you even get started in this game? I mean, were you doing this before? I'm really curious to know your story, especially with the different kids, because obviously they didn't all just show up at once, and how that's influenced your career and the decisions you've made, and even just your drive to succeed in business. So, were you already involved in business before you had your first child?
No, I was in the Air Force.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So how'd things unfold then?
Oh man. So I was recruited by the Air Force Academy to play football. My parents were not entrepreneurial, they just did their thing, working for people. And, I knew that education was important. I wanted to keep playing ball, and, it was a great offer. And so I spent 4 years in Colorado and then 5 years on active duty. But I was always, interested about money. I was money motivated just because I knew it makes the world go around. Mm-hmm. The good old golden rule, right? He who has the gold makes the rules. And it's, I didn't want money just to have money. I just knew that it brought freedom, right? Mm-hmm. It gave you choices. It gave you options. And so I started dabbling a little bit in investing. I was doing some stock trading and stuff when I was very young, right out of college. And a friend of mine was kind of showing me he had learned it from his father, so that was interesting. And then I started looking at different businesses, and I realized I wanted to get into sales. So, I owed the Air Force 5 years. So after 5 years, 1997, I got out, had a wife, a baby, another one on the way, and jumped right into commission sales. And I was a stockbroker. I was smiling and dialing, cold calling. Really before the internet took off, at least for business, and even in the financial world, they're so regulated. Everything had to be read and edited and approved before it could get sent. It was just very stifling. But I did appreciate, the risk reward of, getting paid for my effort. And so I bounced around, though, a couple of businesses. I did not like the stock trading. I ended up selling mobile homes in Mobile, Alabama.
What?
Oh, yeah, baby. Slinging me some trailers.
What? That is hilarious. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Dude.
There's some relevance to Mobile right now in my life, which is really funny because anyways, keep going. Sorry, keep going.
So that's where I really learned to sell. I made $100,000 my first year selling mobile homes. I was 28, 29 years old. We had our second son, and I was paying, I think, $365 a month rent for a 2-bedroom apartment.
That's awesome.
Making $100,000 in 1998.
Yeah.
So
the high life, hence the 7 kids.
Yeah. So it was like, hey, I think I can do this selling thing. And then, life happens, different companies. That company had big layoffs, and right after I got promoted to manager, and I ended up in high tech, and right when the dot-com bubble was bursting, 2000, 2001. So I bounced around with a bunch of startups, but I was always doing pretty good, to either pretty good or great, despite all the chaos. I was always learning. I was always reading books, attending conferences, trying to get better, trying to hone my skills. I mean, rarely would my company provide the tools that I needed, both from physical tools, to training type tools. And so I took it upon myself to get better, and to improve. And as I grew in my knowledge and my abilities, I just became increasingly disgruntled with management, the people I was working for. I would look at them, 5 or 10 or 20 years my senior, and ask myself, do I want to be them in 5 years or 10 years? And I was like, no. I don't. So it's like, well, I'm going to do my own thing. So there we have it.
Got it. Well, that's
the shorter version.
No, but that's perfect. And I loved, because that's where a lot of people, I think, when you're talking about your frustrations with working with the company and how you're being treated, I think that's at least where I really got pushed into my to embrace my entrepreneurialism because of that.
Right.
You get burned by other people enough, and you get sick of making other people rich. So now, when you deal with people and clients and people that are trying to sell, first of all, you've obviously been around the block. You obviously get sales. When people don't get it, do you have why? What is it that they're not getting? What are they trying too hard? Is it that? Is it that they're not investing in building a relationship well enough? Is it that they're not willing to ask for the sale? Obviously, we're painting in really broad strokes here, but just for yourself as a sales whisperer and a trainer, where do you find most people get caught up?
Well, most business owners, / entrepreneurs do not like sales and marketing. Okay. And then most salespeople, even in a corporate setting, they certainly hate prospecting, but they do not understand the true role of selling and how to go about doing it the right way. So going back to business owners, with sales and marketing, business owners, it goes back to the E-Myth, right, with Michael Gerber.
I know that book. Yep.
Yeah, most people are just great technicians.
Yep.
And they're like, I'm going to go start my own gig. And, I'm a great computer repairman. I'm a great, electrician. And, I do all the work at this place. They're a great mechanic. This shop won't run without me. They treat me rude. I'm going to go start my own auto shop. And then they're like, oh, my gosh. I mean, there's so many steps. The front end, the front office and the back office. There's so much to it. But what they don't realize, no matter how great of a computer repairman you are, or a great mechanic, or a great realtor, there's always somebody better out there.
Yep.
Okay. And even if they're not better, you can go hire 10 people that are 80% as good as you. You can teach them and to get to be 90% as good as you. So you got an army of people that are just about as good as you, and you're overseeing them to ensure everything gets done to your standards. But the number one thing you've got to do in a business is market.
Right.
You got to build a list. You got to have a targeted list that you can always be reaching out to. And so people don't realize that. And then they don't realize really how predictable people are. Okay. And so,
by that? Yeah.
So a great example is, if I walked up to you, I see you at a conference, and I walk up and I say, hey, Daryl. You go, yeah, I'm Daryl. And I slap you in the face, you'd be kind of pissed, right?
Yes.
And if I walked up to you and said, Daryl, dude, I've been wanting to see you. I've got something for you. And I pull out a $100 bill and go, this is just for you for being awesome. You'd be in a good mood, right?
Totally different experience.
You'd be in a good mood. So those are extreme examples. But now, in a related instance, if I call you, or let's say you come into my place of business, you come into Wes's wonderful world of office furniture, and I walk up to you and I say, "Welcome to Wes's wonderful world of office furniture. How can I help you?" What are you going to say to me 9 times out of 10?
If I walk into your store, I don't know. If I have a problem, I'll tell you what my problem is. If I'm window shopping, I'll be like, I'm fine, just looking.
I'm fine, just looking.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, most of the time, right? You walk into anywhere. Hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm good, just looking. Like, you don't want to be approached.
Right.
You don't want some happy-go-lucky, cheesy, pushy salesperson coming over and squeezing you, and upselling you and closing you.
Right.
Now,
yeah, people don't like to be sold. They like to buy.
But everybody will still say that. Everywhere you'll go, hey, how are you? You want to say, hey, I'm good.
Yep.
Hey, how can I help? I'm just looking.
Yep.
But now, so talk about predictable. How about if you walk in and I go, welcome to the store. What brings you in today?
Totally different experience. Yeah.
You have to now answer me, right?
Yep.
This engages the brain. You may be on your phone, you're tweeting, you're Facebooking, whatever, you're texting, blah, blah, blah. Hey, can I help? Oh, no, I'm just looking. And you can just not even make eye contact. But I say, hey, what brings you in today? You got to go, oh, snap, he's talking to me.
Yep.
And you got to look up. And, and it may be, hey, my buddy's next door getting a haircut. I'm just killing some time. Or, I dropped my mom off, at the doctor's office and I'm just killing some time. Okay, great. Hey, like we got, comfy couches, in the back. We got coffee back there. Hey, kick your feet up, just relax. Nobody's going to bother you. Or if you say, hey, I'm moving into an office or I'm expanding or whatever. I got a home office. I'm looking for one of these stand-up desks. Okay, great. Now I can speak to you in a targeted, relevant manner, not waste your time, not waste mine.
Right.
So as a salesperson, do you understand how predictable people are, and are you engaging them in a way that will further the conversation in a way that benefits you both? Okay, because that question that I ask you, is that manipulative at all?
No, not at all.
Hey, what brings you in today, right? That's an honest question. I own a store. I get paid by helping people buy office furniture. Okay? Maybe I'm the highest priced in town, but maybe I got the best quality, the best warranty. We stand behind the stuff. We deliver same day, but there's all these benefits. So either way, and I can help you choose quickly so you're not wasting time looking at catalogs and brochures and driving all over town and having stuff get delayed and pissing you off. So because I add value and provide value, I should demand and expect a courteous, timely response from you so we can help one another.
Yep.
But so people don't realize that. They don't realize how predictable we are. And we don't think things through. We just show up and wing it, show up hungover, 5 minutes late, pour some coffee, sit down on the desk and go.
Yep.
Like, really?
Yep. I love that point you made, especially about the predictability, because in a lot of the marketing automation stuff I do, it's almost the same thing. It's like, well, look, we have this sales event, whether it's a webinar, whether it's a phone call with a rep, whether it's a sales letter, whatever it is, you've got some sort of sales event. It's like at the end, people can only do a handful of things. There's not 12 to 18 things people can do. There's 3 to 5. They don't show up. They show up. They're not interested. They show up, but they need, some more information, or we don't want them, or they buy, and it's like, why can't you be prepared for that in advance and have a standardized system in your business to take care of people and think about it strategically, exactly like you mentioned, to be smarter about it versus just kind of shooting from the hip and, hoping it goes right. And then, having a business that depends on people who get it and who can do it and without having to think about it versus having a plan that you can teach to anyone. So yeah I love that. Very good insight.
Sales is totally learnable. Okay.
Yeah.
Totally. And the best salespeople are made, not born. Maybe they had a proclivity, right? Maybe they had a proclivity for sales. Maybe they were more open to it or curious about it. But the best ones hone their skills. They weren't born with it and it just happened. No way.
Yeah, no, I love that. There's actually, I come from martial arts background, and there's always like the prodigal child type thing, right? The kid that was just born with natural talent. But there's a quote that I've used a lot in the different training camps I've been in, and it's hard work will always beat talent when talent refuses to work hard. You might be naturally gifted with people, but if you don't work on your sales skills, if you're not willing to, to be sincerely about the client and helping them, right? If you're not willing to work hard, that talent's just for naught. So I like what you say that, because some people might feel like there's no hope. Like, oh, I don't, I feel weird about asking for money and all that, and people unsell other people all the time. I happened to I had to send something in the mail, and I was trying to send it expedited. And he tried to talk me out of it. I was, he's like, well, I don't know, if you get the basic, I don't know, can you wait 4 days? Because, it's only 4 days and it's less than half, and maybe he's trying to do me a favor, but at the same time, I just needed it to get there, right?
Right.
So, it's a great topic. So that's a great one. That's a great one. So what are some tools that people can use if they want to get more familiar with how to sell and the process of selling and study good sales?
We'll send $2,000 with a self-addressed stamped envelope to the Sales Whisperer. So, for free, do things like this. Listen to podcasts, study the greats. Zig Ziglar, Tom Hopkins, Brian Tracy, Anthony Parinello. There's so much great stuff. All these guys have podcasts. And content. I have the sales podcast, thesalespodcast.com. As we record this, I've got 157 recorded. I think I've published 152 of them so far. So just diving into topics like this. And things like that are free. It's amazing the stuff that's out there that's for free. I would tell you, it's kind of like golf, in any sport in general. You need to find someone that you resonate with and kind of master their flow before you move on. Okay? Because and I saw a great post today, a friend of mine on Facebook, that people will talk about their binge reading, read a book a day, 3 books a day, every 400 books in a year. And it's like, that could be cool. Okay? But what are you implementing from that book? Okay, I can't tell you how many times, like Dan Kennedy's newsletter that I get. A lot of times I won't read the whole newsletter because I may see something on page 1 or 2 and I go, oh my gosh, I got to do that. And I will put it down and I will go do that. Okay? And maybe it takes a month to fully implement. I got to redesign my site or tweak something from an SEO standpoint or write a new sales letter or create a new report, build out an entirely new sequence in my Infusionsoft. I'm like, that's good. Yep. Okay? It's like your mom brings you a chocolate cake. You have to eat the whole thing. It's like you want to eat the whole thing. Right. And sometimes you can't eat the whole thing, maybe over like 2 or 3 days because I'm going to have a snack. I'm going to dip it in my coffee and have it for lunch and dinner. Okay, but sometimes, just get one big piece, eat it, and enjoy it, and let everybody else have it. So, the purpose of knowledge and learning and education is so you can take the right action. Okay? Even if you're like a history professor, at Harvard, okay, maybe you make a little bit of money, but maybe your plan is to go on Jeopardy and win like 87 times in a row and win $3 million. Okay, at least you took some action. But, just to be like the smartest guy in your fantasy football league, it's like, what does that really get you? So you've got to take action. So it's, if you hear something like this podcast, y'all are listening to this, if this resonated, stop it. I can't tell you how many times at the gym I would go and borrow paper from the front desk. I'm like, you got like a sticky note and a pen? Because I hear something. Now I've got a little journal from LA Fitness that they give you to track your workouts. And I actually put a big sticky pad in the back of it because I have a pen anyway because I'm writing down my workouts. But I'm listening to podcasts. I'm listening to Audible and books. And I'll just stop it. So, yeah, my workouts are usually a little longer, and sometimes maybe I'm not as sweaty as I would be normally, but, I'm kind of multitasking. I get it. But that's why I also swim, so that is at least 1 hour a day that I have no electronics anywhere. One guy has the waterproof Bluetooth thing and he sets his iPhone up on there, and so I'm like, no way, dude. At least get in the water with no electronics.
Yeah, that's a little too much. That's overkill.
But I mean, I'll write stuff down when it hits me, right? So then when I get home from the gym, I can jump on it, you know. So if you hear something that resonates, stop the recording, you know, and go implement it. It's okay. It's okay. You don't have to listen to the whole thing. I would like you to listen to the whole thing, but only if it's giving you value. But if you already got value, stop eating the cake, you know, and just enjoy. Go apply it and enjoy the benefits of that little nugget you just got.
Reminds me of a quote from Benjamin Franklin: "Well done is better than well said."
Right.
And I think that's that. If you know how to say it and explain it really well, that's great. But what can you do, right? So that's awesome. So how about for you? What have been some of the greatest challenges you've had to overcome in your business career?
Oh man, there's always challenges. I mean, I was on unemployment when two of my kids were born. You know, a lot of ups and downs. I mean, being in high tech, you know, in the early '90s or early 2000s, like good grief. I mean, it was just a bloodbath all the time, you know. And then, you know, figuring out my own business. I mean, I've been screwed over by partners. You know, one guy took hundreds of thousands of dollars, stuck me with an IRS bill of $81,000. Other partners stuck me with bills here in California on a franchise we had gone in together. I mean, you just got to keep going.
Yep.
You know, there's no perfect course. You always say, you know, you can't climb a smooth mountain, right? There's got to be up and down. There's got to be jagged edges, because that's where you put your fingers. That's where you put your toes, so you can hang on, step up, right? And so, you know, throughout all that, I've learned invest in myself, right? Invest in my business, rather than thinking some partner somewhere is smarter than me and I need him to grow. You know, it's rarely the case. So just invest in yourself. You know, have great mentors, have great coaches, but even them, you should grow beyond them. Okay. So maybe a year, maybe 5 years. I don't know, but I don't think you should be following the same one for 25 years. But find someone you resonate with, master what it is they teach, and once you've mastered it, then you can iterate. Right, but I see too many people. Like when I started with Oakwood Homes, they had a very clear-cut process. We had flip charts. You know, it was before laptops and you know, things. Where the old flip chart, all of the trailers were locked. You had to come in. We had to meet you. We had to get to know a little bit about your situation. Is this, you know, for you? Is it for your family? Do you own your own land? Is this like a cash deal? It's like a lot of people would buy them for like hunting cabins kind of thing.
Right.
You know, it would be insurance, flooding or fire. Okay, boom. Do you need this right now? Do you need it later? So, and then once we understood the budget and the time frame, then I could steer you around because, you know, we had like, I don't know, 50 trailers or so, 30 trailers on the lot. And, you know, they weren't air conditioned. And in the South, I mean, it's dang hot. So it wastes everybody's time if we just walked into 30 or 40 or 50 trailers, you know? So it's like, tell me what you want. Tell me what you need. Tell me what you can afford. Okay, great. From my experience, I know these 3 or 4 at most are going to fit your need.
Right.
Let's drill down, right? So have a process, have that workflow, understand how that works, understand how predictable people are, understand the need for scripting. You know, people always push back. I always pushed back when I was a salesperson and trainer come in, but they didn't relate to me the importance of it, and they also gave bad scripts. I'm like, that's cheesy stuff. I'm not using that. Okay, but when I would ask people, you know, how much money does Tom Cruise or Oprah or Jimmy Kimmel make? Right? How much money do they make?
I don't know, millions.
A lot,
millions,
right?
Yeah.
Billions. More than I have in my left pocket right now. No, not as much as I have in my right pocket, but more than I have in my left pocket. And what do they do for a living? You know, they like Oprah and Jimmy Kimmel, you know, they just ask interesting questions prepared in advance, right? They have their little cue cards and they're flipping through them. What does Tom Cruise do for a living?
He reads scripts.
He regurgitates a script, but he makes it believable. He owns it, and he makes it believable. Just like my example earlier. Hey, what brings you into the store today? That is a script. Okay, but does it sound dry or robotic or manipulative. No, it's an honest question. And because I know that people are predictable, and I know how I'm going to open the dialogue, I'm very relaxed. And Zig Ziglar, always said it. Selling is a transference of a feeling, and that feeling is confidence. So if I approach you all fidgety, hey, welcome to the store. How can I help? You're like, you can help by getting out of my face. Okay, that's not good. But when I'm calm, hey, what brings you in today? Okay,
Yeah,
I know you're going to answer me, but you know what? I'm okay with you saying no. Yep. Which would basically be like, hey, you know what? I just dropped my mom off across the street, at the doctor, and I just, looking for a place to get out of the heat, get out of the rain, get out of the snow. I'm like, hey, no sweat. I got coffee in the back, big screens back there. I got them by the, they're the comfy chairs, for the office. They actually recline. So you know what? When nobody's looking, I take my shoes off. So just hang out and relax. Let me know if I can help.
Yeah.
So even that, I'm relaxed. You're relaxed. I don't feel any pressure. I'm not going to close you. You're not there to buy. So I'm giving you a little respite, right? A little paradise, a little oasis while you're waiting for something else. You know what? If nothing else, you're going to think good about me in the store and maybe refer somebody to me.
Well, you hit the nail on the head. Even when you said it, you said, go ahead, chill, relax back there and let me know if I can help. And that's the part that I think a lot of people get caught up in, because especially when you're starting a business, you're so focused on your business and your survival, and you're so focused on you're not thinking about the end customer. And that's even like whenever you have an experience when a customer comes in and they've had a terrible experience, they're unhappy, they're complaining, and you go above and beyond for them to solve it. Everybody knows that often those people become some of your best customers, right?
Oh, sure.
Right. And it's the idea of helping someone and taking their concerns first. So I think that that's an important thing that you mentioned there, that a lot of people lose. And even that's something that Zig Ziglar said. You can have anything you want as long as you help enough people get what they want. Yep. And I think it just comes back to really being in business to help other people more than anything else, and having a specific person you can focus on and help.
What are you doing back there? Painting a house or something?
No.
Doing some body work on your car?
No, someone was trying to tiptoe in and get something. Except for their tiptoes were bigger than they thought.
Life of the podcaster.
Yeah, it's all good. No, we're good. But I still think it's really important that focus on that, because I even know myself, if anyone's listening to this call right now and their business is struggling or they're feeling anxiety, I think that can be a dangerous place to run your business from, because now you're at risk of bringing that to your interactions with other people versus just sincerely wanting to help other people. I mean, I'm really grateful because through podcasting and through the things that I've done, Wes, I'm sure you can speak to this as well, I've helped so many people and I've created so much goodwill that I almost feel like I never have to worry for business. If I got dreams of making bazillions of dollars, in a week, sure, that's a different challenge. But if I just need to get by, I feel like I've helped enough people sincerely and genuinely that I've got an endless line of work for the most part, depending what I want to do, because I've just been so genuine about helping people. And it's just, you get this emotional equity that you can't really get anywhere else. And I think that's really important in the marketplace when you're after that. Sure, some things are commodity where you're in a business where it's more of a commodity, what you're selling. If you try to avoid that, get into, like they say, have it be an experience, have it be that safety, have it be where you're their guy, like my hairdresser, my, like my buddy's restaurant, my dry cleaner, my mechanic. When you start having that sort of relationship where you can put the word "my" before it, you've surpassed that, and that's when you've got a long-term customer and a long-term relationship. And that's where the real wealth is in any business that lasts, right? It's not in getting one-time sale, having a bunch of one-night stands where you just churn and burn for your one-off sales. You can do that, flash in the pan, make some money, but then at the end of the day, you're going to wake up with a bad hangover and be like, what happened? Because money, easy come, easy go, right? And so there's so much more value in building the business and the asset and the lead flow, and building that, like you mentioned, the list, having the list that you can reach out to almost at any time and just generate income on demand because you've got such a good relationship with those people and they look to you to help them with blank. And whatever that blank is, right there, you're their guy for that. So I think there's a lot of value in what you said, and just even when you're talking about having a script, so not even just a script for the sake of sales, but just having that standard process. Like, hey, when I meet someone at a conference, we're one of four things is going to happen, and either they're just someone I'm going to stay in touch with, they're they're going to be one of these 4 or 5 people, and I should have a plan for that.
That's it.
So, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, going back to kind of how we started with that, my dad always says, if you think you're desperate, you are. Right? And so, and you start acting like it. And that's where, going back to Zig Ziglar, I mean, if the selling is a transference of a feeling, and that feeling is confidence. So you're running around, and you're desperate. You're right. You can't give it away. So you're not going to make your number. So that's when you do have to kind of take a step back, understand that people are predictable, make sure you're putting processes in place. But you have to internalize what my early sales mentor, Steve Clark, taught me. And it was a 4-part. It was selling is a calling, serving is its purpose, questioning is the process, and a sale may be the solution. Okay.
Can you say that one more time just for everyone? Because I think that's gold. I really do.
Yep. So it's selling is a calling. Okay. And that goes back, are salespeople born or made? I think, my very first paying client in sales training was an architect. So he was not called to be a salesman. Okay. At least he didn't think so. He thought he was called to be an architect. But then he wanted to go out on his own. So deep down, there was a little bit of an urge, an itch, right? Some embers of a salesman in there with that entrepreneurial spirit. So he was called to be his own man. Okay, so selling is a calling, serving is its purpose. So he was an architect, and he wanted to provide great plans to people, at a great price, great service, and just be a great architect, which people need. So selling is a calling, serving is its purpose, questioning is the process. So just like I opened up with you on the furniture, what brings you in today? So you got to have your questions built out ahead of time. Just like, I was in the Air Force and I didn't fly. I grew up flying with my dad and then flew a good bit even on the side in the Air Force. But, when you get in a plane, if you're flying right now, you have a trip coming up, look in to the flight deck and see what those pilots have either on their leg strapped to it or they're holding in their hand. Both of them have a checklist.
Yep.
Okay. And, you may have 2 pilots in there that both been flying 20 years. They still go through the checklist together.
Yep.
Because it is so important to get it right. Yep. Okay. And so, but you as a salesperson, you're literally betting your paycheck on how prepared you are to engage with that other human being. And so if you don't have a checklist, okay, a script, a process, then you're winging it. You're saying, you know what? I am sure that I'm not going to run out of gas or have a bolt fall out and have an engine drop off at 30,000 feet and that runways are just everywhere and it's clear skies and the sun is out and there's no wind and I can just land safely anywhere and be okay. That's what you're literally doing if you're just winging it.
Right.
Okay? So selling is a calling, serving is its purpose, questioning is a process, and a sale may be the solution. You come into Wes's wonderful world of office furniture, and yes, I would love to sell you $80,000 worth of, Herman Miller Aeron chairs and oak conference tables and oak, cabinets and fancy filing drawer. I would love that. But if I would hate to waste your time, and I would hate to waste my time showing you all around. And hey, you know what? My mom's out of her doctor's appointment. Thanks, and you're out of there. And I'm like, right. In the meantime, 7 other people walked in that I couldn't serve, and 5 of them were ready to buy today.
Yep.
So a sale may be the solution. If you're not ready, if it's not right, but see, I know that I don't have to grill you because I asked the right questions that stack the odds in my favor. Now, you could still lie to me. You could be there to shop and get some pricing and beat down a competitor or another vendor. Okay, but when you ask a question that the other person doesn't expect, it greatly increases the odds of you getting an honest answer. Okay. So, again, you're walking in, you're on your phone, blah, blah, blah. Hey, what brings you in today? Oh, snap. He's talking to me. Because you weren't ready, typically you give the truth. Yeah. And that's all we want. That's all I want in a selling situation. Just tell me the truth.
Right.
Even if it's no, that's okay.
Yep.
Then I can move on.
Yep. Yeah, because if you're lying and you're playing games, you just waste. It's almost like in life. People are afraid to be honest in all sorts of scenarios, but I don't even get it. It causes, it's just a bad way to do business. I'm not going to go on that tangent, but things would work so much better, faster. I mean, even the partners that you remembered, you've been double crossed. I've had ups and downs in businesses too, and it's just the same thing. If people had just been honest from the get-go, would always have a better end result. So,
yep.
And I think for some people, maybe they're new and they don't have a checklist, or they're just trying to figure their process out. And sometimes you just have to go through the motions and figure out what your process is.
Sure.
It's the same thing. You've got to do the reps, you've got to do the push-ups, you've got to get the time in. But I love how you mentioned the checklist, because there's a great book called Checklist Manifesto. And it is all about checklists. And just like you mentioned, fighter pilots, surgeons, all these highly trained professionals, people have been through hours and hours and hours of training, still using a checklist. And yet so many people operate their business and they don't have a checklist on how to do a single thing. And then they complain that they can't take any time off. And it's like, well, how would you have someone step in for you if there's no checklist for them to follow? Right. So I think we've hit on a few really important parts here. So first of all, one of the things is, like you talked about, having a scripted process that's really about serving people and helping them get to where they need to be. I liked how you talked about the questioning, because you're probing, you're sifting, sorting, and screening people so you can help them get what they want. Now, the next thing that we talked about, though, was we only talked about it briefly, but it was lead flow, and it was about being able to get leads. And a lot of people go into business and they're just upset with their employer. They have no plan or no strategy of where can I find people? Where do people go the second time the car doesn't start? And what I mean by that is, like, the first time your car doesn't start, if it starts up right after, you're like, what was that? And you just think maybe it was some moisture on something and whatever. But the second time you start your car and it doesn't start, that's when you go, I got a problem. And then you start thinking that you might need someone to help you with the problem, and then you start looking for someone to help you with the problem. Right. So that second time the car starts, people listen to this call, you need to think about with your customers, what's the second time the car doesn't start for them? Because that's where you need to be. That's where you're going to get your lead flow from, and that's where everything Wes is sharing with us follows in after that and will help you get maximum dollar for every lead you generate from that point forward. Can you talk a little bit, Wes, about salesmanship in print? Can you just rant on that a little bit? It's something I know the quote. I definitely am a fan of the philosophy. But for those that might be listening that, they're new to this, they're like, what do you mean marketing is selling in print? What? They don't get that. Can you just enlighten them a little bit?
Well, that's what we're here for, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, marketing. When I was in corporate America at bigger companies, sales and marketing departments were always at odds with one another. And it just boggled my mind, you know.
I've never got that either.
I mean, you're on the same team, okay? But all of everything you do, every interaction somebody has with you should be congruent, okay? So it means it flows. It just works, right? So you have like a Starbucks. I mean, they kind of have that brand of like a little higher quality. The coffee mugs and the water bottles you can buy there look nicer. They feel a little bit nicer. They have high-end water you can buy, fresh fruit. It's all, so you see the ads, they're like, they're just nicer. They're not grainy, it's not like a scribbled logo. So their marketing, is selling in print. They're setting you up. They're setting the expectations. And then when you come in, there's music, there's, oak chairs, maybe there's couches in there. It has this vibe that matches the marketing. So you have to think through your process, how you want to engage somebody. What do you stand for? Are you lively? Like you go. Fortunately, I don't have to shop at all. My wife does it all, and I love it. But these different, I don't know even all the brand, like the Gap or Aeropostale or whatever you call it. they may be loud, right? There may be loud music. Some of these have like a lot of cologne and whatever, strong smells.
Right.
It's like, that's what the kids like. My teenage boy, he likes that stuff. He's going to go into that store. So, but that's totally different than where I want to go shop. Okay. So the marketing, the ads you run in print, radio, television, whatever, needs to match. So when they hit your website, does that ad, because maybe they got a flyer, or a direct mail piece or even an email, and they get to your website, does a video automatically start, or is there music? Are there pop-ups? Is it more subdued? Is it black and white? Is it very busy? So you got to think through this whole scenario, because if you're doing it right, the marketing is warming them up. Okay, it's setting the expectations. Then they engage you. They visit the website, or they call, or they come in, and then are they sure that they're in the right place based on the marketing? Because there's an old adage that a confused mind says no. Mm-hmm. Okay, so if you got a direct mail piece, or let's say you dropped your mom off at the doctor's, and so you were waiting, so you walked into Starbucks and you got yourself some coffee, and I have some kids running around that parking lot stuffing flyers in all the windshield wipers, that says, big sale at Wes's Wide World of Office Furniture. And so you go back to your car, you were just going to listen to the radio, but you have this flyer, and you're like, hey, this flyer looks kind of nice. These guys are out and about making stuff happen. Oh, and it says, hey, free, I don't know what, free continental breakfast, at Wes's Wacky World of Office Furniture. And you're like, yeah, Starbucks is too expensive. I like their coffee, but I'm not paying that. But there's a free continental breakfast. I'm going to go look at some furniture. And then you go in there, and, maybe the flyer was lively and, energetic, and you come in, and there is music playing, and it seems like a more fun place rather than chandeliers, in the foyer and classical music, but there's some 80s rock playing, and like, hey, you can smell the breakfast. You're like, this is a cool office furniture place. You know what? Yeah, I do need a new filing cabinet. Let me see what you got. So does the marketing, does it match, right? So again, marketing is just selling in print. Are you setting them up, setting the proper expectations that makes the sale much more seamless? That's what you're aiming at with everything you do. Your text messaging, voice broadcast, even a fax broadcast if you're still doing those. Your Yellow Pages ad, right? If you got a billboard, all of that should be conveying that message. It should have a call to action. It should be very clear and easy and obvious how to respond. And then when they do, it needs to flow. Okay?
Yeah, I like that. I always call that my food court test. I always say that your marketing should always pass the food court test. And the food court test is if you were in a mall and you're in the food court and it's busy, it's peak time, and you stood up on the table and yelled out your message, how would the people react? So a great example is like Baskin & Robbins. A lot of people, you definitely want to show up and have a uniform look and feel, because that's, people recognize, people are like, oh, I'm terrible with names, but I never forget a face. Well, that's kind of what your brand is, right? It's your face.
Right.
So that's why you want to have that uniform look and feel. But then if you're again, if we take ice cream, Canada, we've got a company, Baskin & Robbins. If I just stood up on the table and I just yelled out, Baskin & Robbins, everyone just look at me and be like, okay, and they just go walking by, right? And that's what a lot of people, I feel, do with their marketing, that they're just like, Baskin & Robbins. But if instead I stood up on the table and I really yelled out, free ice cream, totally different reaction. All these people come over and be like, free ice cream, be like, yeah, here's a sample. Here you go. We've got tubs on for sale. It's, $5 a tub or 3 for $10. Which flavors do you want? Something like that, I think is a much, much better offer, because like you said, it's enticing, it's low risk for the end user. It's that salesmanship that you would do in a face-to-face, even if you run trade shows, or, if you do conferences, set up booths at conferences, if that's how you sell, think about how you approach people, think about the questions you ask them, and just translate that into the other media as best as you can. I mean, that's really what it is. I love that when you say that marketing is salesmanship in print, because it's not supposed to be anything different. It's
Sure.
supposed to be the exact same thing. It's supposed to be just modeled into a different medium. Right now this is an audio medium. If we could be recording our video of us talking, it's a video medium, but it's still us still talking. So I think, again, people get caught up in that, and they don't focus enough on mastering sales, I guess, and just building relationships,
Right.
and being sincere about helping people. So that's really good. So, Wes, what's some of the best advice that you've gotten? I mean, you gave that great tip. Can you just go through those, the 4 steps, the 5 steps, just for anyone that was listening? We went through and broke it down, but can you just say all of them just in summary again?
Yep. It's just selling is a calling, serving is its purpose, questioning is the process, and a sale may be the solution.
I love that. I really do. I don't know if I'm going to steal that or not, but I promise I'll give you credit if I do. It's just, yeah, it's so eloquent. And I love the questioning part because, again, most people, they're so focused on themselves, they don't think about the other person. So that's huge. That's so huge. So, yeah, have you any great advice you've gotten, or any milestones you felt like you broke through as a sales trainer and a professional where things really started to click? Because there's knowing things, and then there's knowing it, right?
I mean, there's always, milestones and things that you break through. I remember the very first time that my process totally worked and somebody that I had never spoken to bought something off my website. And that was, oh man, at least 6 years ago, almost 7. And I was so thrilled. I remember I called Steve Clark, my sales coach back then. I was like, dude, you know what just happened? To be able to write a blog post, send an email out, host a webinar, have a product, in the digital storefront. It was a digital product, so it was delivered automatically. I mean, and have the money. I was like, oh my gosh, this stuff works, So, I mean, that was great. And then, I've written 2 books now, and those were great. And, I self-published them through Amazon, but now I'll have it finished by tomorrow. My book proposal that I'm going to start shopping around to literary agents to get an advance and actually get a big publishing house to carry my book. So,
Nice.
Publish it. So, I mean, that's going to be just finishing a formal book proposal.
Yeah.
Is a milestone. So, and I was supposed to have it done yesterday, but man, hey, life comes up. So, but we'll get it done this week. And so that's a milestone coming. So they're all different, right? I mean, I remember the first time I got contacted, and this was 2010. And somebody had contacted me, and for my first big keynote talk, $6,000, Vegas, flew me to Vegas, put me up, and I was the opening keynote for day 2 of this big national sales and marketing conference. So I mean, there's all these little things, and so they keep coming, and your goal, people listening, yours may be smaller, it may be larger. You may be like, I get $60,000 on the keynote, and I get called 87 times a day. That's fine. So everybody has their own.
Right.
Okay. You may be just wanting to get called up to give your first free talk at a local Rotary or chamber. You know what? Hey, you got to start somewhere. I did that, and I'll still do it. If my local chamber calls or the Rotary, I will go give a 5 or 10 or 15-minute talk if that's what they want. So you're always having little goals and bigger goals. And I think that's what life is all about. I think we're put on this earth to achieve, to fight entropy, right? The constant, the state of decline, the tendency of everything in the universe to decay. So we as humans are put here to build. And so having goals and then constantly striving, to achieve them is really what life is all about. It's great to achieve them, but, it's like, then what? You got to have another goal, and just keep moving forward, keep producing, keep doing, keep testing, keep failing, keep learning, reapply, do it again. And you know what? Everything's going to be just fine.
Yeah, I think you hit a couple of nails on the head there. One, that it's a lifestyle. That
Yeah.
it's not, like you talked about the milestones you've had, that it's a lifestyle thing. It's not a 9 to 5, I clock in, I clock out. It's about setting up your life. And then you joked about the podcaster's life. Like, my life is designed, I'm very happy. I'm very happy. I make good money, and I've got a very, a lot of flexibility in the ways that I want. And I think that's what it really comes down to is as entrepreneurs and as marketers and CEOs and whatever you want to call yourself, I think that that's what we really want to strive for. We want to strive for a comfortable living with a life that we've designed that allows us to do the things we're passionate about, help others so we can feel good about what we're doing in the world. Like you said, build something for the future. But then it's really about a day-to-day lifestyle, about setting regular goals that you can, little challenges that you can have for yourself. So if anyone's listening to this and they're going through any sort of struggle right now, don't worry about that. Stay focused on helping your customers. Stay focused on where they're at. Recognize something that you said before that I think we greased over, that the money is in making the sale, not necessarily in delivering the product, right? That part needs to be a given. Making sure that you're delivering the product, that you're delivering the service, that people are getting what they expected. That's the number one way to shoot yourself in the foot in business, in any type of business. So I think sometimes people get it wrong when they talk to people who are sales and marketers, because we just assume that the products and services will be what they're supposed to be. Because if they're not, you're biting the hand that feeds you. So that given, the money is in making the sales. I always relate it saying that, your business is a black box. When you mentioned Michael Gerber, the E-Myth, when you have all your systems in place and your processes and your checklists, your business is a black box. And if it's like a dentist office, that means people come in one end, they're crying, they're sad, they're in pain. They leave the other side, smiley, happy, pain-free, beautiful teeth. And this little black box is a wonder machine, and it solves this problem for people. And your goal is to have as many people with that problem go through it, because you can help them, you can change their lives, you can change their smile, and you can make money doing it. So then the money becomes in getting as many people to go through your black box as possible, and maintaining and managing that black box to run and make sure that the quality standards remain high. So that's, again, talking about the lead flow, talking about the checklist, talking about the scripts, talking about it being a lifestyle versus a one-off thing, talking about repeat customers and having a relationship so you have like a business to stand on, not just a one and done, one-time sale, thanks, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, on to the next one. So I think there's a lot of lessons that we've covered in this call. I think there's some really good info. If any of this resonated with any of the people listening, I think you should maybe listen to it again and just make sure you missed it, you got everything, and you took good notes. And as always, take your notes and turn them into action lists for you to do, for someone else to do. Because again, the other thing a lot of people make is they try to do it on their own. You mentioned the sales and marketing departments being opposite each other and challenging each other and not cooperating. You're on the same team, running a business, getting success, being successful, getting rich. It's a team sport. No one's ever won a gold medal without a coach, without a team behind them. No one's ever, right? No one's won the championships without a team of people to support them. No successful CEO has made it there as a one-man show. So I think this call is really just jam-packed full of a ton of tips, some through your stories and what you share with us, lessons you've learned from your mentors. Wes, is there anything that I didn't ask you that I should have asked you?
There's a lot of things you didn't ask me, but I wouldn't answer them anyway, so it's a good thing you didn't. No, man, this was awesome.
Good. Well, if people here really loved the wisdom you shared with us and the tips that you've got and the directions you're pointing them in, and they want to know more, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Send $2,000 with a self-addressed stamped envelope. That'll be in the show notes, right? Yeah, I'm easy to find on the web. I'm on Twitter a lot, Facebook. I mean, you name it. But if you visit thesaleswhisperer.com, I've got all types of free reports, things you can get, what's on my tool belt. I've got, if you want to go straight to a landing page, I have thesalesagenda.com, and that'll just go to a page on my site where you can download the actual sales agenda that I started using back in 2006 to set up meetings so they ran in my favor. And it's all about the opening. It's all about the setup. It's not about the close. If you open right, if you qualify and disqualify right, if you set the proper expectations, you'll be surprised at how fluid and non-stressful, laid back your meetings will go, even big meetings. So go check that out, thesalesagenda.com, totally free. And then, if you've got some time, after this podcast, if you want to listen to thesalespodcast.com, check me out there. Again, another free tool. I interview great people. I need to have. I'm gonna turn the tables on Daryl here one day, real soon. Grill him. So if you want to hear him cry, just like Oprah, I make people. I just bring it out on. They just they're bursting in tears. So yeah, thesalespodcast.com. There's a few resources for you, and they're all free. How you like them apples?
I like that. I just signed up for that sales agenda because you're right. It's often in the preparation, and how you start. If you do that right, the rest of it should just fall into place. So I think it's a great tool, great tool. Thank you for sharing that with us. Wes, you've had so much great wisdom to share. I really enjoyed our conversations previous and this one as well. So thank you so much for your time. It's been an honor and a pleasure, and I wish you, your family, and your loved ones all the best.
All right, man. Thanks for having me on the show.
You've reached the end of our interview. Now, first, let me thank you for listening. I appreciate and respect you more than you'll ever know. And now I'd like to ask you a couple of questions. First, what 3 lessons did you just learn? What 3 aha moments just jumped out at you? Second, what can you implement for yourself and your business in the next 24 hours? Third, what can you give to someone else to help you with, or give them to just do it for you? Whatever it is, remember taking action is the secret sauce to results. Now, if you think this interview would be helpful for a friend, please give them a link to it. It'll help them and it'll help me too. I'd also like to invite you to help me find out more about the challenges you're facing, your dreams, your goals, and how I can help you overcome what's holding you back. We both do better when we know better, and your success is my success. So please reach out and interact. You can visit our website, bestbusinesscoach.ca for Canada or California, where I'm from and where I'm living. You're welcome to also try out one of our paid programs. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and pretty much every other social media channel you can think of. You should also subscribe to the podcast, and if you're enjoying them, please leave us a nice review. It really helps. That's all for now. Once again, thank you. Take care of yourself, and remember, the world needs the best business you can build. And I believe in you.